Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Just getting the little things going here. And, okay. I think we're finally getting the hang of this thing. Is that working? So, yeah, so how is everybody right now? Okay, there's Jane. Okay, we're on. So, yeah, we're gonna make a really beautiful broccoli soup. And so I'm gonna start with chopping the onions, and just gonna try and get this here going. But anyway, it's working over there. I always have these little issues, but that's okay. Hi. Okay, so we're gonna keep cutting the onion. Yeah, so I'm not putting a lot of onion in here because I want it to taste mostly like broccoli. And so we're just gonna have a small onion in this one. And yeah, so if you haven't, I have a little compost underneath the table here, and so it makes it easier. Like if you have a compost below wherever you're cooking, it's really helpful. And hey, darling, yay! It's nice. It's sunny. I heard it's supposed to be humid, which we're not used to. So I got up really early at 5:30, and I got out in the garden so that in case it gets really warm, then I will come in and do some more processing with the herbs and everything I've been collecting. You know, it's kind of piling up around here. We've got we have the wall lettuce drying for more sap. We have the hypericum, which is like the St. John's wort. I didn't collect a lot of that. I just happened to run across a little patch. And then we've got the broom flowers. Hey, guess what, you guys? We did the broom flowers like 2 weeks ago, and traditionally, historically, they were used for gout. And so so I was able to offer them to a friend of mine who has gout, and he wasn't being bothered by the gout right now, but had a sore shoulder, and put it on the sore shoulder, and it worked really well and super fast. So that was awesome. So good to know. So I'm working with some other formulas and things, and so what we're going to do here, because this probably, once these, I put way too much water in there for the onions. I usually don't put that much because I want them to get translucent. But yeah, I just, you know, when you put them in too much water, what happens is they take too long to break down, and then you're cooking your soup too long. And so if you are aware of what I usually do, I usually just have a pan full of just a tiny bit of water just to keep it from scorching, and have it on high. And then as soon as you put the onions in, they kind of sizzle a little, not a lot, not scorching. And so it gets them cooking much faster, so that then you have your 15-minute soup or your 15-minute meal or whatever you're making. So most of my recipes are 15 minutes, 15-minute healthy foods. And so this is making it taste longer. And it's working though. They're starting to turn. So it just brings the flavor out better. So what we're going to do is we're going to give that a minute. We're going to talk about something else. So what we'll talk about, oh, I know, here we go, is you guys were asking me about this other coffee substitute. And this one here, it's, I don't know how you pronounce it really, but it's from Poland. It's Krakus or Krakaus. I'm not sure, probably Krakaus. And it's a coffee substitute that I've been using. I use a few different things. I use dandelion root because it's really good for the liver, good for the blood. Dandelion root is just amazing for everything. I highly recommend that you, if you can get the powder, to get that and add it to whatever it is that you're You could add it, you know, if you're drinking coffee, you could add it to your coffee because it'll have benefits, right? So you could add it to your tea, if, especially if you're having like a latte or something. You can add it and you don't really notice the flavor. It's got like a deep, rich flavor, kind of sort of similar to coffee. The dandelion root has been a coffee substitute for years and years and years. Anyways, this particular one here, I do drink it straight up, and I also add it to my dandelion root. And this one is the roasted barley, rye, chicory, beetroots. So it's just roasted barley, rye, chicory, and beetroots. Speaking of, here's something we can talk about while that's cooking. The barley. So it's sprouting. I don't know if you guys can see. Whoops, it's still a little drippy. And the little sprouts are coming through. Actually, they're coming right through the bottom of the colander. So it's getting its little sprouts. So as soon as we, I think I'll give it another day, and because I'd like to see a little bit of green tips on there. So the sprouted barley, like any kind of sprout, increases and enhances. It's a new word, increases. It increases and enhances the nutrient value, you know, like, I don't know, a millionfold practically. And so when you sprout something, all the energy goes into creating the plant. And so it like gathers everything that it's taken out of the soil, and that it, when it was growing, right, it pulls in all the vitamins, minerals, and all the things, different nutrients that plants use. And so it's pulling all that out of the soil, holding it in its little tiny seed. And then when water hits it, it's like all that nutrition that it pulled out of the soil is activated. And so that's another explanation of why the sprouts are so good for you. Oh, the salad from yesterday. Darlene's asking about the salad from yesterday. It was really, really good. I did add a little bit of Himalayan sea salt, a little bit more. Let me think about that. Oh, and I ended up adding a little bit of maple syrup, just because Daniel doesn't really like too much apple cider vinegar. It's just not a thing that, you know, everyone needs something different. So I added a little bit of maple syrup, just to take that apple cider bite out. And it was really good. And so yeah, I chopped it up finer, and it was really, really tasty. So that turned out really awesome. And so anyways, okay, so while we're talking sprouts, supercharged sprouts, the little radishes. The little radishes are coming along too, and those are going to be super good in another day or so when they get their little green heads on. So typically, I'm kind of keeping these guys like around here, and our house is really doesn't warm up very well. It's pretty cold, so I'll start to warm up now with warm weather. But if I put those sprouts in a warmer spot, they should sprout within 2 or 3 days, and they're not. So I obviously don't have them in a warm enough place. But just in case you try to do that at home and you want to sprout at home, and you're finding it's taking a long time, warmth really, really helps. So helps speed the process. I'm not in any hurry, so I'm not too worried about it. But anyway, just so you know. Okay, so the onions are coming along here. What we're going to do, because we want the onions cooked, we don't want the broccoli super cooked, but we do want the carrots fairly cooked. And I always wash all my vegetables before you put them in the fridge. And if the carrots are organic, then I don't peel them. And so I'm not going to peel them, and I'm going to cut them up a little finer than normal. And again, I really want this soup to taste like broccoli, so I'm not going to put a lot of carrot in. I'm just going to put enough for a little bit of added flavor and mostly color. So now that those onions are coming down, they are there's still too much water in there, but it's okay. I mean, it's going to turn into soup anyway. The only thing is, like, the only reason is for saving time. That's the only reason you don't want a lot of water in there. But that's okay. Those have broken down. So these are going to the little carrots are going to too. I'm going to add half more carrot because it feels like I need to. Okay, so we'll add half more carrot, and then we'll put the broccoli in it. It's super easy, super fast soup, and doesn't take very long to do. Did I say that twice? I'm terrible for that, but I do have to watch when I'm cutting so that I don't cut myself. So, yeah, so that's one of the other things about, we were talking about cayenne yesterday and the benefits of cayenne. And cayenne, believe it or not, will stop bleeding. Sounds like it would really hurt. And I haven't used it a lot because, knock on wood, I haven't had much bleeding except for when I ran into a wall last summer. That was not fun. I had a lot of bleeding, but I didn't have any cayenne with me. Oh my God. I was standing next to a stucco wall, had to be stucco, and we were walking our dog. I'll just tell you the story. We were walking our dog, and another dog came running towards her, and so my dog kind of went between me and the wall, so the other dog was going between me and the wall. And then the other dog stopped right beside me. So I thought, oh, and the owner was calling for it. And so I thought, oh, I'll just hold on to his collar and wait for the owner to come. And then all of a sudden the dog took off. And when it did, I just right against the wall. So that was a pretty big owie. And taught me not to touch other people's dogs, especially even when they're friendly. You know, just, yeah. So anyways, okay, so we've got the carrots coming along here. That's when, you know, an injury like that, that's when you want to have arnica. And I usually carry those things with me. I was talking about homeopathic remedies the other day as well. And my glasses keep distracting me. And the homeopathic remedies are really good for anything from bee stings to spider bites to swellings to every disease on the planet. Homeopathy has been used for it. And every ailment. And so anyway, arnica is the one for injuries. And so I usually keep it with me, and because it will work right away with any kind of injury. It just gets your immune system to start working with lowering the swelling and any kind of, you know, for bleeding or whatever, that kind of thing. So arnica is like one to have in your wallet all the time. The other one that I have in my wallet all the time is the one I was talking about before that's really good for bacterial issues. Like I've had food poisoning really, really badly. And so I'm very, very sensitive to certain foods. Well, certain foods, any foods with bacteria, really. Bad bacteria, not good bacteria. And so so I carry the coli bacillinum with me all the time, and you just, as soon as you feel that coming on, you take 3 of they're little tiny no-sodes, and you take 3 of those, and it stops within 20 minutes. So there's ones for headaches, there's ones for all kinds of things, and they work really fast. So arnica is one that you would carry with you in case of an injury, and no matter what the injury is, sprained ankle or whatever. It really helps to kind of bring things down and slow down the effects of the injury. So anyways, I was going to say something else about homeopathy. I can't remember, but we're going to do a little we'll do a little class on that. Like a homeopathic first aid kit is a good thing, and they're so small and easy to keep in your wallet. So what I'm going to add now, you guys remember we made the I want to get everything in here going and then do the broccoli and the collards last because I don't want them to cook very much. And so, hi Kathy, hey. So we did these peas earlier this week, and then like I said, it's so handy if you make a big batch of whatever you're making, or at least a double batch, and then you put it in the freezer. Then you have just a little bit to add to whatever else you're making. So these are the peas that we had, and I am going to add these. We actually did a chickpea, sun-dried tomato chickpea hummus is what we did earlier. And but I used yellow peas instead of chickpeas, and so for the new people, that's what that was all about, was a sun-dried tomato chickpea hummus that we made earlier. So I'm just going to add these peas, and this will be like a thickening kind of for the broccoli soup. And so I'm going to, what am I going to do? Okay, I'm just going to let this warm up while I chop, because we're going to chop the collards. So I have collards still. I still have collards from the garden. One's a little eaten here. We'll just tear that off. I did wash them when I brought them in, but you know, I don't mind a couple of bug bites really, as long as it's all washed off and there are no bugs in the produce. That's the end of my kale. My poor little kales. They're going to seed and they're turning purple. Anyway, what I usually do is just fold it in half and bunch it all up, and then make it really tiny. So we've spoken a lot about kale and collards and all those deep leafy greens that are so full of vitamin C and vitamin K, and how kale really needs to be broken down in order to be absorbed properly, because the cell walls are so thick that we usually don't chew it well enough to actually get all of the fantastic nutrition that kale has, because kale is one of the plants on the planet that has the most nutrient value of almost any other plant. Like, it's just so full of nutrition, and everybody's heard about the kale this and kale that, kale in your smoothies and kale chips, and so kale's a really big thing and really important and beneficial for you. So we're just chopping this up really fine. I'll take those little stems out, and we're going to add this just to get it steaming a little bit more, because this kale and collards will actually take longer than the broccoli. So we're going to add this to the onions and the carrots and peas. We're just going to get that starting to break down a bit. It's funny how, I can't help myself. It's supposed to be broccoli soup, and I can't help but add extra nutrition and extra nutrients, and then it totally doesn't turn out looking like broccoli soup, but it really is. So what we're going to add to it for flavor, we're going to start adding the flavor. I am going to use this chickpea miso, but I won't add it until the end, because the chickpeas are fermented product, although I do like cooking with it a lot. You know what I'm going to add to this? I thought it would be super cool. Oh God, okay, it is going to be broccoli soup, I promise. But this is the chickpea hummus or not the chickpea, the pea hummus, the sun-dried tomato pea hummus. And it's really, really good. So because it has the sun-dried tomato in it, I'm going to add, I'm going to add a little bit of that. I didn't think it would really fling like that, but it did. So we're going to add that, and we're going to add the chickpea, or the miso, in a minute. I am going to, because the miso has a beautiful, well, most people know about miso soup, so it has a broth-like flavor already. But in this case, I am going to attempt to make this taste like broccoli soup, so I'm adding a vegetable cube. This is from Healthy Habits. They have the most amazing veggie cubes and different flavors and that kind of thing. This is just a regular veggie one. And so I'm going to smash him down a little bit, because those guys, otherwise he'll sit in a lump, and then give him a little stir in there. And you can see the water is dissipating, which is good. And my peas are like, super cooked. So they're just mashing down. If you can see that the peas are already mashing, which is going to give me a thickener, so that I don't need to use as much thickener for the soup. So speaking of thickener, okay, I think this is good. So you guys can see these peas smashing down, and that's a handy thing to have, is something that you can use to thicken your soup aside from what I'm going to use, because I need it thickened a little bit more, I'm going to use a little bit of tapioca starch. But if you can use like a little bit of leftover smashed potatoes, or smash some potatoes or peas or beans or whatever to help that thickening happen, it's just way healthier for you, especially if it's peas or beans, than adding like a flour roux or whatever. So I'm going to add a little water now. Okay, just a bit. And then I'm going to first add my nutritional yeast, because that's what's going to make this cheesy. And so I want it very cheesy, so I'm going to use 2 heaping tablespoons of the nutritional yeast. And then doing it to taste, for, based on taste, you might want to add more. I am going to add a little bit of the granulated garlic, and not going to add any salt because I put the vegetable cube in, and I am going to add a little bit of cayenne because I love it, and it's so good for you to, it's going to aid in digestion as well. And okay, so we will mix that up, and you can see that's getting thick already. So that the nutritional yeast adds a lot of thickening and a really cheesy flavor as well. And so so the nutritional yeast is like super good, especially if you aren't a meat eater. It's super good. It has B3, it's got potassium, calcium, it's got it has I'm pretty sure it's got protein in it too. I'm just trying to think about that, but I think it does. But it's really good for you. And so anyway, you can see that it's gotten thick, so you add that first. I don't cook with very many directions or instructions, or follow recipes, but that's handy because that tells me how much of the tapioca to use. Of course, if you use too much, there's always fixing it with water. So so we're going to do a little bit of tapioca, and you should use, I prefer tapioca to cornstarch, because the cornstarch, we have so much corn in our diets. I would rather not put extra corn in my diet. If I'm going to do that, I'd rather do it through tortilla chips or popcorn. So so this is tapioca. I'm going to turn this down because it is bubbling, and I really don't want to cook that kale and collards too much. I still want it vibrant and green. Okay, so a little bit of tapioca, and I don't know, this stuff goes a long way, so I'm gonna say that's a level teaspoon of the tapioca starch. And then of course you guys know, everybody knows this, like I'm not a professional cook, I'm just sharing how I cook fast, easy, healthy meals. And so I'm sure that there's a million people out there that know how to do this way better than I do, but this is how I do it. So I'm just sharing how I do it. So a heaping teaspoon, a little bit of cold water. You guys already know how to make a roux, I'm sure. And I'm just going to add this to it to thicken it up, and then put the heat back on, because the heat, obviously we're using cold water, so the heat is what activates it into becoming thicker. So we're going to turn this back up. The other thing, I've never even thought of it, and I should have. I'm just looking around to see if I have any laying around. I could have added dandelions to this, and I probably will go out and get some and put some in before we eat it, just to wilt them down, chop them up fine and wilt them down, because there's so much nutrition. It's kind of like similar to the kale and the collards. There's so much nutrition in the dandelion leaves, roots, flowers, everything, every part of it, that it adds different nutrients that different vitamins, minerals, and amino acids that would not be present in, certainly not present in any bought food, but also that aren't present in most other foods or any other foods, so because the root goes down so deep and it accesses different nutrition, so it's really good for you. And so anytime you can hide it in foods or eat it straight up if that works for you, then you've added a nutritional nutrient value to it big time. So okay, so this is starting to thicken a bit more. Okay, so now I'm going to add my broccoli, and I'm going to save a few pieces, thicker pieces to put on top, but mostly I want to chop it fine. And you know, the middle of the broccoli, like the hearts, this one doesn't have a very big one, but the middle of the broccoli is the best part. It really has like this super tender, almost like an artichoke heart in the middle. So you just peel it on either side with your knife. And so I kind of got a little bit of a heart out of this because this didn't have too much of a stem. And oh yeah, all these things. I have a garlic scape, beautiful garlic scape. I'm gonna slice him in half and throw him in there. Garlic scapes are so amazing, so we'll just throw that right in. And actually, you know, it's early in the season, and the garlic scapes are very young and tender, so I could have actually chopped that up into like 1-inch pieces and just put it in, and it would just be like asparagus, super yummy. So I'm going to cut up this broccoli heart too, just, you know, just little chunks like that. And you get like if you buy the stalk of broccoli, it's pretty good. You know, I don't see any reason to just buy the crowns, you know, the tops of the broccoli. So I am going to save that just for a garnish. We're going to have a broccoli garnish, and then cut the rest of this up really fine. And you could, and I should, you know, if I was by myself, I might just put this in the you know, food processor, the hand ground one, the one that I liked using. I really like using the non-electric appliances, and so I would probably do that just to speed things up, but because we're learning things together and we're sharing time together and we have so much fun, I'm doing this by hand. So yeah, so the broccoli, I mean, everybody knows the broccoli has so many health benefits, really good for the colon, you know. Any of these cruciferous vegetables are super good for, you know, the colon, and have been, you know, promoted as help for colon cancer or prevention for colon cancer. You know, it's just been said over and over again through the news and the research that this stuff is just so valuable. Your cauliflower, broccoli, all your root vegetables and turnips and all those cruciferous ones. And they do really work with the heart as well. The broccolis, they work with the heart, and they are really good for, obviously, for your immune system. They've got vitamin K, they've got vitamin C, just super, super yummy. And they have been used for detoxing to a certain extent. That shouldn't be boiling, sorry. Talking and not paying attention. I didn't want those greens to not be fresh. Okay, I'm turning this right off because that wasn't my plan. You know, it's hard sometimes. I just have so much fun talking to you guys that I forget what I'm doing. And so that's still boiling, and when that happens, a good way to stop it and slow down the cooking process is to add more water. We can always add more well, I probably will use more nutritional yeast because I do want this really cheesy. Or you could add the tapioca. But anyway, okay, so that cooking is done. And so then I can add my miso to it for added nutrition. And, you know, it's this particular one is a fermented chickpea. anything fermented is so good for you. It's that fell right onto my broccoli. It's you just can't do enough to get your prebiotics and your probiotics into your body like that. Your intestinal system is the machine that really runs your health and your whole body, your immune system and everything. So super important to have fermented foods. And we're going to work more with that later on too. I was looking at my kombucha babies, scobies, and oh my gosh, they're in dire straits. So so I need to definitely make some more tea for my kombuchas, and so we'll look at doing that. And then we did fermented sauerkraut a while back, and I would like to share with you doing some different things, you know, like carrots and you know, you can even ferment salsa. And so basically what you're doing is you're making your salsa, and we should do that. We'll do that. You're making your salsa and you're just adding extra salt. Not a lot, but enough, and then leave it out at room temperature for like, it all depends on what you're after, but you can leave it for a day or two, and then it will start to ferment, right? So so that activates those probiotics in there, and there's a word for that. I can't remember what it is right now, but there's something that's in probiotics, and the word just escapes me. I know what it is, but I can't remember. I know a lot of things that I can't remember. Oh my God, okay. And that's the truth. So these I'm just going to put on the top, and just so that it really does look like broccoli soup. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to save these for like right before I take the final pictures. So here's the broccoli. It is broccoli soup. See, it even starting to look like broccoli soup, and it's creamy, and I'm pretty sure it's going to need more. See how nice and green that is? That's why I didn't want it too cooked. Although it looks like the collards and stuff are still very green, so I don't think I cooked them too much. They'll still have huge nutrition, and the cell walls will be broken down for easier access. So yeah, so I think this is looking fairly thick, if you guys can see that. It's so strange because when I look there, that it looks like you can barely see what I'm doing, but apparently you guys keep telling me you can see everything I'm doing. So okay, I am going to add a little more water, and I am going to add, intuitively, it feels like I need my nutritional yeast spoon, and I need 2 more heaping tablespoons. So heaping, and that's going to make it super cheesy. Of course, you can add, if you want to add cheese, if that's something you want to do, you can do that. I'm super sensitive to dairy products, and it makes me, if you haven't noticed, it makes me very congested, and so I do, that's the main reason that I stay away from them. And but you could use a dairy-free, like Chow makes a really awesome cheese. Miyoko's makes a really awesome cheese. You see everything. Do you see it close, or is it? Are you like? Do you have to have your glasses on? So yeah. So that's the. That's looking way better. And wow, that's looking really good. It's still looking like a stew though, so I'm gonna add a little bit more water because yeah, there we go. So, oh, and this is, you know, if you guys wondered what I use, this is a Santivia, it's got broccoli on the top now. It's a Santivia water system, and it has filters that alkalinize your water. So we are exposed to so much in life is acidic. You know, the air we breathe, the toxins we inhale, anything that isn't a fruit or a vegetable is acidic to some level. So we tend to be good, Darlene, that's awesome. We tend to be we do so many things that create acid in our body, and any pain or inflammation that you have is because of an acid environment. So the acid creates inflammation and pain, and they become really intertwined, creating that inflammation, pain, heat, swelling, blah blah blah. So anytime we can have more alkaline foods and anything alkaline, especially the water, it's super beneficial for as an anti-inflammatory even, you know. So the Santivia is an alkaline system that takes all the other stuff out of the water too. So yeah, so that's looking really good, and I probably can add these in because the broccoli is so vibrant. Let's just do that. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to do, we're like right on time. I don't know how I managed to do that because most of what I do is totally by accident. Okay, there's that garlic scape. Okay, that looks awesome. Yeah, so you're gonna want to taste that, and I'll try and taste it without it making me try and talk and eat at the same time. Oh my God. Wow, that is really good. Oh, and just the right amount of cayenne too, just a sprinkle. Really perfect. Okay, so the other thing we're gonna do, now this is done and turned off, we are going to make a okay, so I got like 5 minutes. Okay, well, let's make that tomorrow. We'll talk about this that we were going to talk about yesterday when we ran out of time. Huckleberries. We did talk about the huckleberries. That I had picked these, and they're in season right now. If you can see them, okay. Little green plant with little red berries, and so I picked some, and they're very tart, and but they're not like a salmon berry. A salmon berry is like super sour tart, like really yeah, like almost unusable tart, like rhubarb on its own, right? But these are sweeter. So they are tart, but they're tart sweet. They're a lovely little berry. They're all over the place right now, and so I encourage you to go and pick some. And what I'm going to do is make them into a little syrup. We spoke about that, about making syrups, and so basically put it in a little bit of water, start to boil it down, let it simmer for like 45 minutes on very low, and then you can add some maple syrup or honey if you want, but I add maple syrup, and then you just simmer it down, and then it makes a really lovely syrup, like if you wanted a syrup to use over something else. The other thing you can do, and that I will do as well, because I'm going to go get more, is put these in the apple cider vinegar, and like we did with these guys here, and so I'll put them in, and it will make like a huckleberry vinegar, and so also you can also add a sweetener to that as well. And so the honey will really preserve it, and it'll last like 2 years, and the flavor will be amazing. That's what we did here. I keep showing you guys the blackberry that I did with apple cider vinegar and honey, and that's the blackberry from last year. And it's awesome for putting on salads or whatever it is that you want. I just want to talk about the huckleberries more. I actually did a little bit of, I wanted to find out a little more about what they're good for, and there wasn't really a lot on there about what they're super good for. When I googled huckleberry, they came up blueberries. You can see my hair in my way. And so yeah, so obviously they're full of vitamin C, so that's the main thing. So there are many different types on the island, which I wasn't aware of. I'm familiar with the there's an evergreen blackberry, evergreen blueberry, and it has well, kind of like this. It kind of has leaves like that, except that they're very tough, and they're tiny, and they're sharp, and they're a little bit pointy, like they're pointy and a little They're almost like a singular leaf of an Oregon grape leaf, if you know what I mean, but only way, way, way tinier. That's not a very good description. Anyway, you'll have to look it up. So there are evergreen blueberries on the island, and apparently they're often called huckleberries, which I didn't know. So there's a few different. They're the vaccinium species in the Latin name. The first word of the Latin name is vaccinium. And anything in the vaccinium family is really good for your eyes, really good for your eyesight. Of course, vitamin C has zinc, and because of the red color, you've got your anthocyanidin, if I pronounce that properly, but it's the red pigment, right? That's so good for you with the beta carotene and all of that. And then, of course, the blueberries are really good for vitamin C and eyesight, especially. So there's I think there's 3 different types, and they're talking about them actually being a superfruit. And so, and especially the red huckleberry, or the Vaccinium myrillus, or something like that. It's the M1, and they're calling that one a superfruit. Although I've seen information with the blue ones being called a superfruit too. And basically what I think is happening is that anything growing in the wild is, like I said before, pulling up that nutrition, the vitamins, minerals, and all of the trace minerals that we normally don't get. And so when your body gets trace minerals that it hasn't had in years and years and years, if ever, then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, you know, and it starts healing and fixing the cells and digesting better, and you know, it's given nutrients to actually make some changes, you know, to utilize, though it'll utilize all that stuff. I'm talking too long. So anyways, check these out. And so it's a free superfood, so they say. And it's a really good food, really healthy, lots of vitamins, minerals, and yeah, it's awesome. So check it out and go pick some. Make sure you know what you're picking. Never, 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 never pick anything unless you know for sure what it is. Okay, so we'll see you guys tomorrow at 11. And thanks for hanging out. It was really fun. And so check out my YouTube channel. And for anybody new, I see there's several new people on here. Check out my YouTube channel and subscribe. That would be super helpful. And yeah, okay, we're out of time. So I will see you tomorrow morning at 11. And I can't believe tomorrow's Friday already. It's like, wow, time's going fast. Take care. Have a really, really good day.